Hello and welcome to the first round of the Orienteering World Cup 2022. We are in Borås in Sweden and the focus is sprint this whole weekend. We're going to kick off today with what I'm calling a classic sprint. It's the individual sprint. It's a sprint as we know and love it. And before we turn to the knockout sprint on the Saturday and then the sprint relay on the Sunday. We've already had about an hour and a half of starts. So if you've been watching along on the GPS tracking, looking at the live split times, you'll have been following some of your favourite runners as they have been completing the courses today. We had a little opportunity to have a pre-run of them as well, so we can kind of talk you through some of the characteristics of this course. Here is our arena, here is the finish. We have got an arena run through here as well as the actual final last few meters of the course. It's great to see there are a fair few people out, a few people out on the course as well, but it's not the greatest weather for the end of May. It's actually kind of a lot of showers coming through. It's quite cold, but we've still got a good few spectators out here as well for what we hope is going to be a really fast and furious race. We know definitely when it gets to those last starters at the end, it's going to be really, really tight, really quick running. But I also reckon, you know, the way that these start lists are put together with world rankings, there are a lot of kind of younger athletes, maybe more inexperienced athletes who could really make their mark on the overall results because they've had an early start, so they just don't have those world rankings. But let's have a look then at some of the actual terrain here. We've got this great aerial shot. It's very kind of like, I'd say kind of typical Swedish suburbs and apartment blocks.
Yeah, really. We are in the suburbs, so we are not in the city center of Borås today. And it will be kind of a typical race, as you named it, for a Swedish sprint. There will be many decisions to take, not that one decisive leg, but there are always one or two or three options on every controls on every leg. So I think it's an interesting sprint. It's an intense sprint, but at the same time, it's not the most difficult sprint, and especially when you think about that. There are the World Championships coming in about a month. Everyone has been focusing so much on sprint, so they are really in this sprint routine already. And it will be challenging, but not in a way that you get lost or that you get stuck somewhere in a trap. I don't think so. It's many decisions to take, and it will be interesting, but it will be a tight race as well. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think that it will be a tight race, but there's nothing kind of unexpected, as it were. Like, it all is going to kind of look fairly familiar to a lot of runners, even if you've only done a couple of races in Sweden. Like, there's no, you know, it's not like the World Championships last year in the Czech Republic in that fortress, which was something really unique and really special. So there's no kind of like traps like that and unusual things to look out for. I mean, there are a few barriers being put up, but not really very many here actually.
No, we can see it now. We have the map here. So the start is very south of the map, and we start with quite a long leg. It's you have two options there, especially in the beginning, and then you see the second control very easy. And always when it's like that, you in your head you have to be ready, because it's a sign of that the second to third one will be a route choice. Then you have these small decisions, 4 or 5. You have to back out from the control quite many times. At control 9 we have a TV control. Then at control 12 we had an arena passage. Then a route choice there. Tricky one, I think, with quite different options. Maybe we'll see a bit later which options we have there. 15, 16, a longer leg again. 17, they have a map change, so they have the second part of the map on the back side, so they flip it around. 17, 18, we have a leg where there's stairs, and it's a bit tricky to see how fast they are on the map. So my guess is that quite many will go around, but they're actually quite fast there. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's such things are really hard to read out the map. But as you see, there are, I mean, it's very typical suburb, But at the same time, I think the course planners did a good job because you have to back out of the control many times. You have to run in S shape as well, which makes it a bit more difficult to compare the different route choices.
Yeah, a lot of the runners really don't want to run an S shape because it's just that much longer, right?
Yeah, it's much harder in your head to compare to the route choices when you have one S-shaped. When you have a smooth curve, it's very easy to kind of guess the distance, but yeah, if you have to run it in S-shape, then it's more difficult. Here we have this
2 to 3
yeah,
comparison,
exactly. So when you're at control 1, you know, okay, it's a short leg, you have a bit of time to prepare. Shortest one, talk to the course planner, or the fastest one they think is the blue one, but it's kind of tricky. You have, especially in the very end there, a very narrow passage with kind of a pipe coming where you have to balance a bit there. It's hard to see it on the map. The red one is very convenient. It's smooth. You can push very hard. But yeah, I think the blue option is a good one, actually. But at the same time, as we mentioned before, it won't be... Of course, it's kind of decisive if you pick the wrong route choice all the time, but it's better to just run than, don't take too much time. You have to focus on one route and then execute it well and very distinct, and I think that's crucial today.
So on this one, I think... Yeah, we ran the blue one and the orange one, I think, and I think the orange was slightly quicker.
Yeah, I think the orange is. You can see it here. It's a longer distance. It's a bit easier to execute the blue one because you don't have these narrow curves, but at the same time, the distance is so much shorter. I think it's a better route.
And then we also, I think you ran the blue one there, and I ran something between the blue and the red one, and maybe the blue one was still the best.
Yeah, and
the advantage.
Yeah, exactly. There is an advantage. You have been there on the first part. You know this passage. You have already seen Control 24, depending on which route choice or route you picked earlier. But I think the blue one is a good option here. It's very, I mean, the distance is very short. So.
Yeah. So we'll take a run through the start list. We've started off with it being a 1 minute start interval, and then we'll move to a minute and a half by the time the TV broadcast has gone through. We've already got quite a lot of runners in the start. Any early ones you want to pick out? Because as we mentioned before, there's going to be a lot of, there are really big teams. It's not like a World Champs where you have to select just 3 runners plus any who've got an automatic spot. So there are really big teams and some squads with a lot of depth here.
Yeah, I mean, there are interesting runners in the beginning, but of course the most interesting one are coming towards the end. I think an interesting name, I find sure that we will see him at the start. Søren Tranjødum did good at test races in Denmark. Interesting name for me. Also Timo Sutter from Switzerland did very well there, showed good shape. Ruslan Glibov, Gustav Bergman, Ricardo Scalet. I mean, there are many good names coming towards the end. It's always in the men's race, especially if you have a sprint like this. I think there are like 10 or 15 runners who can be in the top 3 today, so it will be a tight race, that's my guess.
Yeah, it's going to be really tight. I had to pick some favourites ahead of the races, and it was really hard to be able to pick some of those out. And actually, we've seen a lot of the runners attend some kind of international races, things like Assom in Belgium, the test races as part of the World Champs over in Denmark. And there have been quite a few internationals and quite a few different countries represented in there, but this is really the first time we're going to see them head to head.
As you mentioned before, we have good indications on shape because we have seen them on national level. We have seen them in kind of semi-international races, but it's the first time where they gather together, and it's only 1 month left until the World Championship. So it's really and for many teams, it's test races as well. I mean, you have to prove that you're ready for the... Now, as you mentioned before, it's big teams here. We have many runners, and now we have to show that, okay, I'm the right one to make it to the team for the World Championship. So I think this weekend here is very important for many of the runners. Yeah,
and there's an opportunity, I think, for a lot of the younger ones who they want to prove themselves. They want to prove themselves against the more established ones who you would almost think would automatically get a spot on that World Championships team. So they really want to kind of perform exceptionally well and prove themselves here. This is Sorrentana Erdem, who you were mentioning earlier. Good performances at the those World Champs test races. Of course, going to be held in Denmark. And the Danes, obviously, for any nation, when it's a home World Championships, they're really going to want to put in a lot of effort. But obviously the Danish team, they all have been preparing so many sprint trainings, been hosting a lot of other countries as well in the sprint training.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, they had, it was a special situation because they had it twice now.
Yeah.
They prepared once and then it got postponed, and now they prepared again.
Yep.
So it was a lot of time of preparation towards this home World Championship. So I think this was, and I mean for young runners as Søren Tranødem, this was a good thing because he might not have had the chance otherwise to run at the World Championships on home soil.
So this is control 17 then, first chance we've had to look at this control. This is where they have a map split and a map like turnover. You can see he was already prepared for that turnover, but not for the next control. There, of course, there's going to be a route choice control.
And actually that's the most tricky one, because otherwise you always have a few seconds to kind of prepare the next leg as soon as you see the control. But here you have to turn the map first, and it makes it difficult. You have to find the start point of the new blank map, and it makes it it's kind of an extra element you have to.
And it's quite a short leg before that to make to do the map flip before you get to that control. But I think we'll see that control being done better and better and better.
Plus it's not a control you see from many meters away.
No.
It's one you see like 5 meters before the control.
And you can probably see some cameras, you know, there's that pressure there. Here is Chris Smithard of Great Britain, and this is our first look at the first kind of TV split. This is control number 9. So they've got a few options to go left or right around some of these buildings. They've made really good use of these fences, adding in a few more barriers as well to really like force the route choice around one way or the other.
And here we have Timo Suter from Switzerland, another one with good shape, named it before, had really good knockout sprint at these test races in Denmark. So one of the younger runners who has to prove something here to make it into a very strong Swiss team at the World Championships.
Gunnar Imsane from Austria. Here's someone with a lot of experience. Yeah. You go from someone who's just starting to make World Cup teams to someone who has done a lot of this kind of thing. But at the moment, still about a minute back on the lead. Who's our leader at that point? That's control 17. It's Loic Capbern from France, who we did see in the picture. He was leading at. He's still leading at the finish. But we can have a look at then some of these route choices. There's so many micro route choices in here. That just look at the way they've split up already to number 1.
And here we see that Martin Riekborn is taking the option more to the west. Maybe, as I said before, a bit more decisions to take. You have to be more careful executing it. Here it's very narrow, where he is at this point. But it looks at this. That was actually. Oh. Did Smithers go wrong there?
Yes. Did he realize?
But that's something.
So, yes.
I mean, from second to third control, if you run around there, it's. I mean, it's not difficult to run around there, and you have a lot of time to prepare. It's very good in the beginning to get into the race, keep it simple, and if you take the route choice, the route that Martin Riekborn took, you have to be more careful, you have to be very precise already in the beginning, and it is narrow, you don't have time to prepare, so I think it's a good thing to go around there, and you can push really hard there.
Much more fluid on the map switch for Trond Einemann Pedersli of Norway. But yeah, I mean, just looking at those first few controls, there's no opportunity to you can't just warm up into the map. You have to be on it, like right from the start. There's no opportunity to kind of, you know, take your time to get into the navigation, and that you've really got to be ready to go straight away.
But this is special this year because it's the first time we have this sprint-only World Championships. So these are exactly the routines that everyone trained on, and it's. I don't think we have seen or. We have ever seen runners as good prepared for sprint as we see them now. So I think this shouldn't be a challenge anymore for those runners.
No, they will have prepared for this so well. Martin Rayborn, who we saw then in the GPS tracking, into third. Very, very close so far.
So you see, again, he's choosing another route here. There's the option to go as Shinneberry. No, there's actually another option as well where you can go
a lot further to the north.
Yeah. Get a quite smooth way there around. No one of those two runners took this route now. But as you see, many different options, and that's in the end it will be a difference between 4, 5, 6 seconds. But of course, if you always choose the wrong one, it will sum up, and then you lose a lot of time. We have seen Gernot Umseen, he lost about almost a minute in a sprint, and it is a lot.
Lucas Leland. Then here, very quickly out of that start, up the slope. I guess it's a position when you're going to be standing on that start line, you can't really see very much of the terrain. You can just see the cameras in that route and just about the start control.
See again that the runners really split up here. The different options. We talked to the course planners before. They said that both of those two options are quite similar. Again, maybe a difference about 2 or 3 seconds. And then 8, 9, it's very typical. You have to back out from the control. It's almost never that you just can run straight ahead. Here, actually, to control 10, they think that it's better to go as Eskil Skinneberg, a bit to the right. Take this passage. Then again, you have to back out from the control.
And orienteers, these elite orienteers, they don't really want to back out of the control. They want to try and keep running. So the way that it's forcing them to back out is making it trickier for them.
It's always, as I was in to before, it's a bit trickier to see which of the routes, like to guess the distance of the route. I think it's mostly this, and then of course you have to stop and back, and it's always this stop and go that makes you tired. So towards the end, it's definitely an element. And there is one route choice or one micro route. I think they are going to decide the route depending on where they come from, the control before. So if you have to stop, it might slow you down 1 or 2 seconds, and then the other route is faster.
So it's still Luc Capburn from France leading at this split 2. And the Pole Michael Lejnik is not too far off at this point. Timo Suter, who we saw at the start.
Towards the first split. Still a few seconds to go there.
And this is a point. I mean, I could guess there were going to be TV cameras around here. There's loads of controls, really, really thick and fast, and you've got to just be able to take in a huge amount of information from the map all at once to be able to keep up that running speed, and make sure you don't accidentally run into a small dead end, or there's a hedge in the way, or there's a fence in the way.
I mean, you have those 3 controls, quite short controls, and it's actually a situation you don't really it's kind of difficult as an orienteer because you really want to read ahead as soon as you think you have control over the situation, and then but in this, when you have so many short controls after each other, it's very hard to get ahead, and it makes it difficult. It's kind of a you kind of lose control a few seconds, or there is a risk you do that, and then you have to slow down, of course.
All right, here is Martin Regborn into the finish. It's going to be really tight to see whether he can take the lead here away from Le Cap Bernard, France, but he is on home soil. He's got a home crowd to cheer him up this very, very short run-in. It's going to be very close here. Can Martin Regborn, we will get the official time as he crosses the line, but no, he lost a few seconds just at that final part. So Martin Regborn into second place, and I think we've got a whole load of Swedes in second, third, fourth, sixth, seventh as well. Yeah.
But he lost 5 seconds from the third last control to the finish. It's quite a lot. Here we have Søren Traniadum. And I think now this is quite a good time towards control 17.
Yeah, we've got those comparison of those split times from some of our pre-warning controls. 12:13 is around our arena passage, and it's looking very, very good for the day. And he's going to, with those results from test races, he's going to be full of a lot of confidence, and confidence it goes a long way when it comes to sprint orienteering, and maybe runners will have kind of chosen their races or done as much as they can to build up their confidence ahead of what, the first big race of the season when it comes to sprint orienteering. But really good start there from Lucas Leland. And the Norwegian team, for me, is one of those teams that is has started over the past few years to kind of split up its forest orienteers and its sprint orienteers. There aren't too many who are an all-rounder, maybe the exception of someone like Andrina Benjaminsen, but they have taken a lot of, it feels like it invested a lot in some of their younger sprint orienteers to give them a lot of opportunities to race on the big circuit and get that experience. You get really the feeling when there was kind of a change in generation, when the older ones kind of grew out the national team, and then the younger ones got into it, and you could feel that now the sprint is getting more and more important also for them. Here again, you have this route from control 6 to 7 where you can run around, and you have again a very easy route if you go all the way around there. And the Finns as well I think are another of the team, very like the Norwegians, really starting to come through with some of their sprint orienteers. Of course, they've got a new team coach in the form of Thierry Georgiou, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays off in terms of the training that they've been able to do in the preparations, taking the advice of one of the greatest, if not the greatest, orienteer.
Male orienteer, at least.
Yeah, that's true.
Thomas Krifta.
And for me, it was how much he was looking at his map in those first few steps, managed to kind of stop looking for then that powering up the slope there, out of the control, already knew exactly where he was going.
He is having a split time of 16 minutes 52 seconds, putting him in 13th position right now, to 1 second behind our Australian friend Aston Key, that is in spot number 12. But then we just have 1.5 minutes before we should have.
We are with Ruslan Glibov, Swedish sprint champion 2 weeks ago.
I noticed that one. He is going to be full of a lot of motivation this year, of any, of course. the Ukrainian.
It's a bit, I mean, we haven't really seen him as a sprinter before.
No.
He had some good races in like national competitions here in Sweden. But now he really, it seems like the sprint focus is paying off for him, even though he lost a bit of time here in the beginning. He must have missed one of the route choices, or two of them maybe.
Yeah, because 20 seconds back at this point. But, you know, having that win at the Swedish Champs under his belt is going to be, so full of confidence, because it's a stacked team, it's a stacked field at that competition. And there are a big Ukrainian team as well here at the moment.
Maybe,
let's have a look.
Yeah, he's already a bit behind here. Then going this middle option. I think it's a good option to go all the way around. It looks very long, but it's fast, because you can push really hard there.
Yeah, and there aren't many opportunities on this course to go just along the street and push really hard, actually, because there's so many short turns you've got to find, or little gaps in a hedge like this one here that you can see Johnny Crickmore going through. You've got to try and spot everything, and you've got to keep on top of the map. So maybe that's a tactic that some of the runners will maybe play to their strengths and be like, I know I'm a quick runner. I've just got to absolutely power down something like that. Oh,
low down.
It is pretty windy here. We're sitting right in front of the podium for the presentations, and that fell down about half an hour ago.
It's very typical weather for the West Coast here. It's windy. It's some showers in between. It's not really warm. It's not summer weather yet.
Let's pick back up then with Søren Tverde Ørdum, and he is on his way to the finish now, just going to round this corner for the last control. But goodness me.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time here.
That is a big amount of time.
Maybe we'll see some GPS later. It must be a mistake there. I mean, it's quite an easy last part, but there is a small trap, isn't there, Katherine?
Well, you mean the trap that I went down? Yes, there is. So look, Odin there was second. Currently, Lucas Leland has just taken the lead there at number 17. So it's going to be really interesting to see where the mistake was, because it must have been a mistake to lose that amount of time. He was doing so well. Must be really gutted, I think, with that.
My guess is that he ran out the wrong way, away from control 24, and then it's hard to find the exit there. We don't see it here. It's kind of this again. Different options all the way around. Krivda was quite good as well.
Yeah. That's so close between Leland and Krivda at that point.
But of course you have to be more careful. I mean, if you see that Leland had a lot of time to prepare the coming controls, and Krivda he had to do and like the map reading part very precisely all the way.
And next, Elliot Rohela was one of the ones we just saw on the tracking there, so we can pick him back up again at the next control. This is control 16, was just on the corner. No, but he has dropped time. And he went all the way around the building to go to number 17.
Yeah, that's not necessary.
that is a lot further than you need to go, because most of them we've seen them taking the little gap through the hedge, like we saw with Johnny Crickmore going. That is a pretty obvious way, but when you've got so many, I wonder if it's a point of when you've got used to going around so many hedges and fences and everything, and then there is actually a gap in it and you just don't see it, and you're assuming that it's going to be another tricky one.
It's almost the same situation as towards control 3, where you have those possibilities to really go around. It's kind of a dead part of the course because you can just push, but then you have to switch back again. I mean, it's very easy to just push, and then if you forget, if you like flying away with your thoughts for just a sec, it's actually quite hard to get back again. So you have to be careful, but it's also a good thing to kind of give your head some time to recover.
I've been really, just looking at this GPS, I've been really impressed with Krivda going through there, taking really solid routes and a really high speed as well, looking to pull away a bit of time. Timo Suter then here into the finish was when we were following all the way from the start, but again, a whole minute down at this point. I wonder again if there was some sort of a mistake or whether he just didn't quite have the pace of some of the top ones, but back with Ruslan Glibov, who we did see, I guess, further down than we expected, but he's not lost too much time in the next part, although he was about kind of, I think, about 20th when he punched that first, our first split control. Okay, so let's have a look now again at the start. Gustav Bergman is about to head off.
He came second in that Swedish Championships, just behind Ruslan Glibov, his club mate. He has been focusing a lot on sprint now, so it's will be maybe not the runner before. I mean, my first association with Gustav Bergman is a forest orienteer.
Yeah, me
but
too.
now it will be interesting if the focus will pay off for the sprint. I mean, he has been a good sprint orienteer before as well, but maybe the focus wasn't 100% on it.
Yeah, I think he is a very much an all-rounder, but
so here my guess is that at control 24 out again, Søren Tranødum, he backed out up there and kind of get stuck. Otherwise it's hard to explain why he would lose 40 seconds there.
So here into the finish, can we see a new leading time then for Lucas Leland?
Maybe.
Maybe not. We will see. It is still Katherine who is leading. Nobody's managed to take that time away yet. You also see Jakob Edson through the run through. Leland, is he able to make it? No, he's going to be too late here. So he goes equal third then with August Modern as well. Equal third place then for the Norwegian. And he just, as we've seen a few losing some time then in that very, very last section where the course changes those characteristics. And
But we also see that Loic Penn, he lost a bit of time in the beginning, so it's really hard to get all of the route choices right. And this is the trap he went into.
Yes, that's a familiar trap. You want to switch off. You're like, yeah, there's the last control. Yeah, I could just go. No. But and maybe was that 9? Was it 9 seconds? Was it 9 seconds? I don't know. I feel like it was maybe not 9 seconds worth of mistakes there. I don't know whether that would have made
he
a
lost 9
difference to his
seconds.
time.
10 seconds. Maybe.
Yeah.
Heikkilä, he was second at the Finnish Championships 2 weeks ago.
So I think we can say that even if you're, only a few seconds back at this point, we're seeing people make mistakes at the end. So your race is not lost if you're only those few seconds down. But Rohola is here, already slower than our current leader. Here he is into our arena to punch the last control. And a very short run in here. Will be top 10 for Finn here.
Sharing the spot of the spot number 7, 16:38, together with Felix Axelsson. But let's see if we have Lucas Leland. Jonas?
But I think really we're only just starting to see, with having seen Gustav Bergman at the start, we're seeing the really fast ones, including this man, Chris Jones, who is his first World Cup race since 2019. He is a really, really fast track runner and had been taking a couple of years kind of off orienteering to focus on a lot of the athletics. He is one of the real quick runners, but his he has been doing a lot more orienteering. He missed one of the big races in the UK, the JK with. He was ill, but there we go. Equally there for Chris Jones.
Also very interesting because he's one of the runners really focusing on sprint.
Yes.
I mean, he's
and
not,
and has done for a lot of, for many years.
He doesn't even try to run the forest.
I remember I was once commentating on a race up in Scotland that was on. We managed to get on the BBC actually, which was impressive. And he was like, "What is this forest that I have to run through?" I still think he won it though.
So here we see towards 10. We think that the Clifton Jones option was a good one, and Ruslan Glivov towards the finish, but he lost a lot of time. One of the runners, I think he has chosen wrongly 1 or 2 times too often.
Yeah, the seconds have just kind of added up slowly throughout the whole of the course, I think. Here's Gustav Bergman. Started that 1 minute after Chris Jones, so it's going to be interesting to see how those two compare. Of course, with equal leader Krivda from Czech Republic as well.
It's not this control.
It's the next control. Ooh, but he had to pause there for a second or so just to check that. And that is these few controls here that are coming very, very thick and fast. This shows you just how much in the moment you have to be. You can't really plan much ahead. You have to do a lot kind of in the moment and when you're there, and he will be those 8 seconds then behind.
But still, that's okay.
Still, yeah,
we have seen,
I'd say that's still pretty good.
Loic Capern, he was 11 seconds behind at that point.
We can check then some. This is a replay.
That's a good option there. Leland and Jones. See Gustav Bergman taking the one in the middle. Maybe a bit slower.
Jones and Krivda and Bergman all turning back around for control 8. Then 9 was where we actually got the split time.
You mentioned that before, Krivda in that part, really smooth orienteering. No problems at all. You see here, it doesn't really matter if you go to the left or to the right. It's mostly a tool of the course planner to get the runner occupied, to not let him prepare the rest of the course.
Yes. And then the time penalty comes later when you mess up or you take the wrong route choice or something because you haven't had that preparation. Jonas Ecker there at the start. And Martin Hubman is on his way to, again, this 9th control. But he's already 20 seconds down. I'd say you could be like, 10 seconds down at this point and still, pick up a lot. But to have kind of 20, 30 seconds down is probably too much at this part of the course. That's what my gut is saying.
I mean, you can compare to Loic Capern. He was 11 seconds behind at that point, and he's the leader in the finish. So it's, I think, everything within like 15 seconds is quite good. Or is quite okay at the moment, at least.
Calculating the finish. I think +8 something is wrong. So.
Yeah, they have the time of Chris Jones and Chris Smithard here. The finish, so maybe at the arena passage that they were too close to the finish, so that it kind of the SE Air finished the race for them in a way.
That is a good explanation.
At least at the split time here. That's Max Peter Beimer. was also running the Swedish Championships, but they had a qualification Saturday, and for both the individual sprint and the knockout sprint, and he mispunched that one, so he wasn't qualified for the individual sprint and not for the knockout sprint either.
Ooh.
Quite a tough one if you think about the situation with 1 month to go towards the World Championships.
Yeah, and you want to get as much race prep as you can.
Yeah, and also you have to show yourself, you have to make your way into the team. Of course, he is with his 5th position from last year's sprint. I mean, he has quite good odds to make it to the teams, but still, for another runner, Jerker Lisell had the same problem, and for him it's more crucial to really prove that he can run fast here.
Yeah, and he got a reserve spot, didn't he? Because one of the runners was out. Here's Chris Jones again. In at control number 17. And what does he manage to do? You can see there he's changed over the map in advance, but he's not really had much of an opportunity to kind of look at where the next control is. So still just taking a couple of seconds there, but
still good, because we know that Søren Tranjødum, he lost a lot of time in the very end, so that's a really good position here for Chris Jones. Yeah, you see there he went into the finish. He took the wrong. I mean, there are 2 different lines you can run. And here we actually think it's better to go as Gustav Bergman.
I was expecting Gustav Bergman to pick up there. Like, it's not only because of the mistake of the running up the finish. Ooh.
And this makes actually a big difference here. Control 12 to 13. It's a bit hard to see on the map. The print makes it difficult to see the passage there, but at the same time they prepared well for this race, so I'm sure they know that there's a passage there as well. So it's Jakob Edson.
Yep, Edson into the finish. Top in 7th place at the moment. Pretty good, but there are still a whole lot of runners to go.
And now
Gustav Bergman has been having a good time.
Let's see the time gap here.
Yes.
Yeah, now it's a real advantage here. 10 seconds maybe, 11 seconds. So this part here, this middle part was very strong.
I think that spotting that route into 13 and not just spotting it, but executing it really well, because you have to, there's so many like low fences, you've got to figure out what's what, which gaps you can get through.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they look more clear on the map than in the terrain, because you have them, as you said, it's low fences and they look very black on the map. So they're very obvious in the map.
When you head, it's a school run there, you head into that school and you can actually see quite a lot. There's not that many buildings and everything, which I think a lot of the runners will tend to use more buildings, obviously. So it makes it kind of tricky, I think.
Jonas Ecker towards split 1. Also, he lost quite much time here in the beginning. He won't be within those 15, 20 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. But that's a bit too much here in the beginning.
So standing split 1, we haven't got Chris Jones on there though. At that point he was equal with Thomas Krivda. But see, Gustav Bergman was able to catch up from being 8 seconds down at that point to being about, 11 seconds ahead. So there's some opportunities for people to go even quicker, I think. If you have a really strong start and then you nail that route choice into 13, there is really an opportunity to do well.
Martin Hoopman towards the map change, or the map turn.
A lot of them doing it at that point, you kind of spot where the control is going to be, you have that confirmation. And
that's what I said before, it's quite hard because you really want to see the control before you turn the map, but because it's just behind this little hill, you see it only like 5 meters ahead of the control, so it's hard to do this map change.
And you've got that vegetation there as well, and you can't really see exactly what's been going on. you don't have that confidence. As soon as you see the control, you're like, yeah, it's there. Where's the next one? But until you see it, there's always a little moment of doubt in your head, I think. Luca Basse is here, ready to go. Again, someone who has been more of a forest orienteer. A lot of success in terms of middle distance, in terms of relays for him. Was part of the winning team in Tiomila. He said he had one of the best runs of his life on that 9th leg at Tiomila.
You know, you mentioned it. It's kind of surprising. You always associate him with being a forest runner, but he's actually one of the last starters, and this is the Sprint World Cup list, so he is a good sprinter as well.
He is still a good sprinter, yeah,
but maybe he hasn't been like this top 3 runner as Troy Hadon or Matthias Kiburt, Yannick Michels, but he's always up there and he is always doing good in sprint races.
Yeah, he's got a lot of consistency, and if he can channel the calm that he was doing in Tiomila, he's going to be great.
I think that was quite a good start also for Max Peter Beimer, but here we are with Chris Jones on the way to the finish.
All right.
Now I think this will be interesting here.
Yeah, there's only a few seconds left. There's not many meters to go, but will he be the first one to overtake Loic Capburn? I'm not sure. We've seen Chris Jones make some mistakes here, but is he punching? He's having to punch every single one as well. Does his SI air go? Goodness me! He needs to he wants to try and punch a control. His SIR stopped working.
His intermediate time from earlier because I didn't get any more split.
He's not happy about that. I can actually understand that, because if you have to punch, you always lose 1 or 2 seconds at every control.
And what was it? If he lost it, for example, maybe running into the finish at 12, then there's still another 12 controls that you're losing 2 seconds every single time. Yeah, when it's your first sprint race in 3 years, you're going to be in it.
And towards the finish now, Gustav Bergman, and I think we are going to have a new leader here.
Absolutely, 40 seconds already to spare, and Gustav Bergman has had a really fantastic race, not all the way from the start, but from when he passed through this arena passage, that second bit, choosing that route choice into 13, then into 14, he really seemed to have nailed those really crucial legs, and he is rewarded with a lead here, 20 seconds then faster than Loic Capburn. So Gustav Bergman is the current leader at the finish, 15 minutes and 52. It's still a little bit longer than the expected winning time, but you can see there he just kind of gets quicker and quicker throughout the whole part of the race.
And you can see really at the arena passage that he kind of turned over, and that he got really fast in the very end, in the second part of the course. And we've seen that route choice, especially towards control 13, when he was just running really good there in this tricky part.
For me, it kind of shows that it's well paced from him. He hasn't gone out of the blocks too quick. He's got that experience to know that he doesn't need to absolutely go 100% speed all the way from the beginning, and actually then you're going to have the energy to be able to still do those great route choice decisions towards the end of the course, I think.
I'm not sure if it was really a decision. I'm quite sure that he wanted to push hard from the beginning, but sometimes he might have chosen a bit not the best route to control 3, and then he's a few seconds behind, and maybe he even gets the feeling that he might not have picked the fastest one, and he worked himself into the course again after the arena passage.
Which is a tough thing to do when you know that if he got that sense that not everything was going right.
And here we have the European champion, Emil Svensk, towards control 9. He actually took another route choice than many of the runners we've seen before here.
You have to go a long way around that hedge.
But compared to Gustav, Gustav Bergman was 8 seconds behind, so he's 8 seconds behind the leader here at this point. But we also know that the second part was really good. And another interesting name here, Tim Robertson.
Yeah, very, very interesting name. Bronze medal last year, and then the previous sprint champs, a silver medal. He's been missing out by like seconds on a better medal. He's been so close. He's really, really raring to go. And that bronze medal last year was off not the best winter in terms of injuries. I think he's a bit better prepared for this one. And he, again, like one of those real sprint specialists.
And here we compare those different options.
I think that is a. I'm not going to say it's a winning route choice, but it is a route choice that has made a difference. And it's not an obvious one when you see that.
Yeah, it's
that
one
leg,
of these
I think. You have to really spot it.
Where you have this S shape, and as we were talking about that before, it makes it so much harder to see if it's fast or not.
Luca Basset, I think already a fair few seconds down. Florian Hovald. Again, a strong sprinter, but when you've got a Swiss, well, both the men's and the women's teams that are so strong at the top end, he never seems to get all the glory in the Swiss team. But we're back with Max Petter-Bäumer.
We have seen that before on the route choice towards control 13, that he was a bit behind Gustav Bergman. You could also see that he has actually faster, control 12 to 13. It's 8 seconds faster compared to the leader at that point. But we had Chris Jones leading at the arena passage, so it was maybe compared to Chris Jones.
Hovald Sandstad Eidsmo into the finish then here. He's going to be chasing maybe a top 3 here. Will he sneak in ahead of the Frenchman? I think it's going to be slightly too long, but he goes into 3rd place then for Eidsmo of Norway. So shows Gustav Bergman's performance. That 20 seconds is quite a significant one, really, at this point in the race, when we know it's going to be so tight.
I was a bit surprised that it was quite easy. And it's so flat, so it doesn't suit me that well. But then I felt that the second part was really, really nice. Had the sprint side pushed really hard there and had a good flow all the way.
Okay, so the second part, that's what...
We can hear Gustav Bergman saying he was really enjoying the second part of that race. Maybe not the first, but yeah, really like the orienteering. Gustav Bergman always kind of wants the course to be challenging and everything as well. As we can follow Alexei Niemi then around again. There's a whole bunch of people about 20 seconds down here. So I think for some of those kind of maybe those top 10, top 15 places, it's going to be really, really close. And spare a thought for some of our running cams as well, having to keep up with all these quick runners. Here's Ricardo Rankin, I think.
Yeah. Very strong sprinter, had a great season last year. Really had his breakthrough at the European Champs. Also, he is more than 20 seconds behind here already. I think it's too much in the beginning. It's okay with this 10 seconds. You can still have a good second part of the race and be able to catch some time, but 20 seconds, that's quite a gap already.
Here's Emil Svensk.
On the way to the second split, the map change, control 17, but also he is behind. You can see that many runners, you see that there's Chris Jones in the lead at control 12, but he ran into the wrong lane there and got toward the finish, so that's why they all so much faster between control 12 and control 13. My guess is also that that's the point where his SER stopped, when he kind of finished the race.
That would be my guess as well. Well, I'll have to find out from him.
But I don't really know how this SER units work, if it's really...
No, I don't know enough of the technical, but I can imagine that someone will have decided it's a good idea that when you cross the finish line, that turns off the air. Which is why, because he was saying they run with two SIRs, they have a backup one as well, and he was saying that both of them had stopped working, so I reckon it must have been...
in the finish at the moment he's not in the result list, so my guess is that his race officially stopped there, so I don't know what they are going to do there.
No, I think the jury might have a problem. Here is our third to last starter. It is Kasper Fosse, the winner of the World Cup overall last year. Now, Kasper hasn't had the greatest of winters. I think he had another stress fracture over this winter. He's been doing a lot of cross training, but was actually back running at the most recent walk test race in Denmark. I think he had a second place there. And so, I mean, he's still... if anybody can have a rubbish winter and get back on the line and get into competition mode and perform at the max, it's Kasper Fosse.
And I mean, he's silver medalist from the World Championships last year.
Yeah.
And now we see Max Peter Beimer towards the finish. Won't be good enough to take over the lead, but maybe can make it there in between Gustav Bergman and Loic Capin.
Yeah, he was only 13 seconds behind the leader, so this may well be a new second place then here for Max Peter Beimer. It looks very good for the Swede to make it 1 and 2 for Sweden at this point. Gustav Bergman in the first place and Max Peter Beimer in second place.
Gustav Bergman 15:52, Max Peter Beimer 16:05.
Hey, looks pretty happy with that. Florian Höwald then here into, again, control number 9, but 23. Look how far down you are, being 27 seconds back. You're in 47th place. What a depth. I mean, this happens with these huge squads that we have as part of the...
But I mean, it's
World
also a huge gap. It's 27 seconds after 5.5 minutes running time. It's a lot of time you lose there. And you see that Joey Hadon went into kind of a dead end there, but he could have continued there. He didn't have to back out again. So there's another one of the Swiss runners losing a lot of time here in the beginning. This might be, you see the tail is 30 seconds, so maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds that he lost there.
Is that it? Is that his race over?
I don't think you win with such a mistake here.
No. Our second to last starter now, Matthias Kiberts.
He's in great shape. He was running a running competition a few weeks ago in Switzerland. He ran 16 Ks in 48 minutes.
Oh, that makes me feel a bit sick, to be honest. That is so. And he won the Swiss cross-country championships as well, and was very consistent, I think, in the selection races the weekend that they had. Here is Joey Hadon then, so we can have a look at the damage that this mistake has done. You can see at control 6, he was 32 seconds behind. We're looking at the tail. That looks like kind of quite representative of what he's done, and he's dropping even more time there. I mean, imagine you're Joey Hadon, you make that mistake to number 1. You know it's a mistake. It's not just a route choice mistake that you don't realise. That is a proper, oh no, I need to turn around to go back again mistake. Can you push it for the rest of the race, basically?
He is aware of the fact that the race is over for him. He won't make it into like a really good position, let's say top 5 or whatever, but still you can be top 15. You're fighting for World Cup points. You still have to make your way.
As well.
Exactly. So I think he's still pushing, and if you look at the result list now, within 30 seconds at the moment, you're still at 8th position. So it's, of course, he doesn't know that, but you have to keep on going. I think, of course, it's a tough one in the beginning because you are aware of it, but still, you have to go. Yeah, you have just to keep going.
Yeah, as hard as it is to keep going, you've just got to do it. Emil Svensson here into the finish. What is he able to do? He was a lot closer to Gustav Bergman, but he's lost some time. I think in the end he's going to be outside the top 3, maybe even outside the top 6 at this point. And at this point, he's got to think about comparison to the other Swedes. But he is in 8th place, so he's definitely lost a bit of time right in the end there. Here is the interesting figure of Tim Robertson. What is he going to do? Is this going to be a new leader? I think it's looking really great for the Kiwi.
You see there, he was 6 seconds ahead at control 13 and still is, so he's going exactly at the same pace at the moment as Gustav Bergman. I think that's a good option here as well, to control 16.
Yeah, I'd say possibly
it's a very smooth one.
Kasper Fosse then.
Yeah, now it's going to be interesting here towards the first split time. See many of the runners losing a lot of time in the beginning, but this looks fast.
It's looking very
maybe
fast.
Not the lead, but still this is a good start.
Yeah, I think
it will be the lead.
No, the timing is slightly behind, so maybe 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 1 second ahead, or 2 seconds ahead of Tim Robertson, who just saw take the lead at that second split control then. So this is really where the big guns are coming through. We've just seen Daniel Hubman through the arena passage. Okay, let's do this comparison.
Interesting, splitting up here again. I think it's quite good option there by Robertson. It's hard to see how fast those stairs are. They're actually quite good, but it's as a runner you don't know it, and it's a bit of a risk you take there.
And you went specifically to go and have a look at those stairs because you wondered if they might be kind of a switchback thing that actually, because it was quite a lot of height you had to descend, and whether it was going to be really slow, it wasn't too bad. Luca Basse then here into the finish. He's a minute down on the leader.
And now we are with Matthias Kiburtz towards the first split here. Still this control, and then it's the next one. Backing out again. We've seen many runners continuing.
But very, very confident in where he was going to go. That quick acceleration that he needed out of the control looks really, really promising. And so we'll see him as he rounds the hedge and comes around this corner. And we can see what the difference is. Matthias Kiburtz ran also really well at those sprint races in Belgium. He's got that in the bag this season. And 4 seconds, I think, is... there's no problem with that. That's exactly where you want to be.
It's the only one of the Swiss runners with a good start here. All of the other ones lost 20 seconds or more.
Yeah, he really has the strong position. Last of the Swiss runners to start, I think, is really... He can build on all of that experience that he's got, and maybe he knows how to handle the nerves. Let's have a look at this route choice.
See them choosing differently here. Kasper Fosser going to the north. My feeling is that he might have lost a bit time compared to Krivda, at least.
And here is our last starter, Yannick Michels of Belgium, another of those sprint specialists.
And there's still some meters to go here to the split time. But this looks quite good. He won't be far away from the leading time either. No,
he's another one of those runners who's been waiting and waiting for this sprint-only walk. Of course, I'm sure he'll be he would have been very relieved that the Czech Republic included some sprint races last year, but he, has been preparing for most of his orienteering career for these kind of races and has performed at the top. Always one of the ones we want to watch.
And now we have actually at the first TV split, we have Kasper Fosser, Tim Robertson, Yannick Michels, and Matthias Kibert all within 5 seconds.
Whoa, it's going to shape up to be a fantastic race. Let's see Ricardo Rankin into the finish though. It's going to be outside the top 10, but only just 2 seconds slower than Martin Hubman. Has pretty decent results at this point of the race, I think. Okay, here's Tim Robertson.
On the way to the finish.
To the finish. Just got a few steps to go, looking
that
strong.
Looks good,
looks
actually.
Good. Okay, will Tim Robertson upset the Swedish party? Will he be faster than Gustav Bergman? It's looking good for the New Zealander. And he's only got the run in now to go. Looking very good for Tim Robertson. Can he get a medal today? There's still lots of great runners there, but he's put himself in the greatest possible position. Tim Robertson then takes the lead here in Borås by 6 seconds. 6 seconds quicker than Gustav Bergman, and he just looks very, very strong. He's got to be happy with that. Thumbs up from Tim Robertson, but there are 6 runners left.
And it was actually the same gap as he had already at the arena passage, more or less. So they were really running at the same pace, but he had this advantage and he defended it well here in the last part of the course.
Yeah, he had a really good start where maybe Gustav Bergman wasn't doing quite as well. And then when Gustav Bergman upped his game in that second half, Tim Robertson was already at that point and they were matching each other there. Kasper Fosser, though, let's have a look at what the Norwegian can do. And is he about to go faster still than Robertson? I think it maybe would have been quicker to go the other way. Well, I don't know. It's not much in it.
Shared lead here.
Woohoo! Equal time.
A bit hesitating there, out from the control. It is the map change, so it's a difficult part of the race.
But if he'd not seen that leg before, to make that route choice decision in just those fraction of seconds, I challenge any orienteers listening at home to do it that quick. I mean, goodness me. But let's have a recap then of these standings at the finish then. Tim Robertson, who's just finished there, is in first. Loic Hapburn, who was leading from the start of our broadcast, still in 4th place there, is really, really impressive result from him. We always kind of know that there may be potential for 1 or 2 of the early starters to do very well, and for this time it's the Frenchman here. Let's have a look then at the route choices. Both Robertson and Fosser choosing to avoid the steps that's right by the control.
But we know that they had kind of the same pace, Robertson and Bergman, so I think it's both of these options are good options, so it's just about believing in it and pushing as much as you can.
Florian Hovald is too far down at this point. It's going to be a minute or so.
Towards top 20, top 25, somewhere around that. Because you can see it's 1 second and the splits are going away for him, so it's top 25. Hold on. 27.
Okay, Matthias Kibert's here then at control number 17. He did a complete 360 circle in choosing that, but 16 seconds down at this point. But crucially, 10 seconds behind kind of that top 3 currently of Tim Robertson, Kasper Fosser and Gustav Bergman together. So that's a control that we just saw Matthias go through, and
must have lost some time there between control, the first TV split, and this one here. So you see the different route choices there. Michels choosing differently out from the control. They're quite equal here. Still very tight there. Very, very tight.
Very, very tight. This is the last starter. Yannick Michels will see this comparison then at this one. You see he's already turned over to the next side of the map. He's looking down to his right to see that control there. And the 2 seconds behind then, we got the time through slightly ahead of the picture. Oh my goodness me, this is a very excitingly tight sprint. We have 2 of those top 4 then already here in the finish. With Tim Robertson and Gustav Bergman, but we're really then looking for Kasper Fosse and Yannick Michels, who are the main 2, I think, now who could challenge the very, very top spots. And Kasper Fosse is now on his way to the second to last control. No, the third to last control. There's quite a few close together in at the end, and we can follow him all the way through then here to the finish.
So now he has to change direction, back out from the control again. Very good here, no hesitation at all.
Here's Daniel Hubman then into the finish. We haven't seen much of him at this point, but actually he's going to be about 30 seconds down on the lead. Pretty good result then.
You can see that half of the time he's behind, he had already lost at control 6.
So not the greatest start of the course for Daniel Hubman, but managed to keep up when it got maybe more technical in the second part. I mean, not that the first part wasn't technical, but the second part maybe a little bit more so. I want to see where Kasper Fosse though is, and this is the comparison of Robertson and Fosse. Oh my goodness me, they are like pretty much neck and neck, but can Fosse just sneak away from Tim Robertson? Here he is, he's working really hard, he's fighting through the pain here, and Kasper Fosse, can he take a new leading time here? It's looking good for the Norwegian. Goodness me, Kasper Fosse then another 6 seconds ahead of Tim Robertson, and a lot of that just pulled up in the last few controls. Such is the speed and the strength of this man. He is just raw speed and was able maybe to turn that up just an extra notch in that last few controls, and to take 6 seconds, even just those 4 seconds from control 24 to the end is really impressive when you're talking about comparison there between Tim Robertson and, whoa, he's absolutely...
Yeah, but you could really see when he came to this 24th control, he really knew what he had to do. He was pushing really hard. There was no hesitation at all. He knew exactly where he wanted to go, just turned around, and then, I mean, he was very, very fast in the very end of the course.
Yeah, you could. I wonder if you put a replay of them, of Tim Robertson and Kasper Fosse just kind of next to each other. You see the way that they're running differently, and maybe that's an advantage in starting later, that you get kind of that you've got just those few seconds to see if you can beat the new leading time. It's incredible. Let's though follow Matthias Kibberts, and we can see that, yeah, you can see between control 9 and 12 losing a lot of time. He was within touching distance, and then just dropping behind there. Matthias Kibberts then rounding the last few corners. Just got one more control to punch, then the finish, but he is already then behind that time of Kasper Fosse, and he's going to be outside the top 3 as well now. Could still be top 4, chasing up top 6 position. So 4th place then for Matthias Kibberts.
You could see that there between control 9 and 12, he lost the race more or less. He was 22 seconds behind, and then yeah, in the finish it's 24 seconds. It's the first part, really. The first half was not the part of the Swiss runners today. And you can see here as well, Yannick Michels, he lost time between control 17 and 24. Now he's 10 seconds behind, so I think that's too much here compared to Kasper Fosse. So even if he's a really fast runner, I don't think he can just catch 10 seconds.
No, not when Kasper Fosse took 4 seconds out of everybody else on that last part. For me, then, it's can Yannick Michels get a medal here in this?
Yeah,
in this
it's very
melee?
tight. We know that Gustav Bergman is 12 seconds behind in the finish. So this is going to be tight here.
This is going to be very tight then between Yannick Michels and Gustav Bergman for the bronze medal then here. Kasper Fosse, I think it's all sewn up for him, but here is the Belgium. Yeah, you can see he's already behind. I think he's going to be behind Tim Robertson, but I think it's going to be a bronze medal then here for Yannick Michels of Belgium. It is a bronze medal, just 1 second ahead of Gustav Bergman. You can see the relief and the joy. He's almost waiting for that confirmation from the arena speaker to know whether he was going to get that bronze medal, and absolutely delighted with that one. I'm sure Yannick Michels taking a medal at the World Cup. But here is our winner. Here is Kasper Fosse of Norway. And I mean, even with an injury-filled winter, I mean, his speed, I mean, to take those 4 seconds out of the last part of the race. And I said, if anybody has a pretty rubbish winter, but can get himself to a start line, he knows how to perform when it really matters.
He's also taking kind of a risk. Of course, it's very impressive that he is performing so well here, with also knowing his background and the story with the injuries. But it's only 1 month to go. If you have like small problems with injuries, it could be, you know, like a possibility to not run today. But at the same time, you would like to get this feedback. So it's important for him, I'm sure, that he performed well today.
Yeah, really important. He could see that he was incredibly pleased with that race. And 6 seconds ultimately the end is, I think, a bigger gap maybe than I was expecting, to be honest.
But it was in the very end he made this difference.
Yeah.
So it was a tight race all the way to control 24.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Maya Alm. And yeah, she just turned it on at the end of one of the world champs, and it was amazing. But I think we're going to hear from the winner now, Kasper Fosse.
So Kasper, congratulations on your victory. How was your race?
It was fast. I think it's the fastest speed I've had in half a year. I am just really pleased that I've managed to come back into shape again after struggling for a really long time, and it's my first ever sprint victory, so this is really, really amazing for me.
Yeah, and how good was your shape coming back after injuries?
Yeah, it's taken a long time, because I'm struggling a little with having pains when I'm running, and so I've always been unsure if, like, every day I'm unsure if it's good to go out training or not, and that uncertainty has really eaten me up a little bit, and to stand here and really having made it, it feels unreal.
And you win by 6 seconds today. There's a knockout sprint coming up in 2 days. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it will be a challenge for sure. I'm for sure one of those who do better in a normal sprint than a knockout. But I got a bronze medal last year at European Champs, so I absolutely think I'm one to be considered, and yeah, it will be a challenge, but I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, interesting to hear then from Kasper Fosse. I think we'll pick up a few of the things that he said and maybe talk about them a little bit more, but I want to run through the route choices here of these, our top 4 runners we've got on the GPS replay.
Yeah, you can see the different options here to control 1. I think that's one of the places we have seen Joey Hadon losing a lot of time there towards control 1. Then another route choice to control 3. None of them has actually chosen the left option here, which the course planners thought was a good one. Then 4 or 5. So here you can see how often they split up in different route choices. 5, 6. It's kind of another. If you get a leg like this, you really have to be pre-warned that it's kind of an easy leg, 5, 6, and that almost always means that the next one is going to be a route choice.
Yeah, there was a lot of a pattern in this with the course planning. We could feel it as we were running round. It was an easy one and then a route choice.
Yeah, it's often you want to just to get to the right place
to make the route
to make to make it work then.
Yeah.
See here, it's very obvious how often they split up. There's so many different options, and you see that the difference might be 1 or 2 seconds, which isn't a problem if you just miss it once. But if you're wrong all the time, then of course it sums up, and you can see that all of them
managed to get that quick route through there.
So I think it's fair to say that it was kind of important to go this route choice there, because we have seen big time differences between control 12 and 13.
Yeah, I think if there was any decisive one, then it was.
And you can see that it is here in this part, 13-14, when this group made a small gap compared to Gustav Bergman. So here you see they split up a lot towards control 16, but in the end they are together again. Here the map change, and here now you see that there is a gap. It's only a few seconds, but it's those decisive 5 seconds. And here you see Michels. It's always tricky with the GPS when it comes to this narrow part. And then interesting, actually.
Robertson is still in the lead at this point, I think.
And the interesting is that it's going to be interesting to see the difference of these 3 runners from control 24 to the finish. Can focus on Kasper Fosser. He had it felt that he has a 1 gear more compared to the others. And it was interesting to hear about his thoughts, that he doesn't seem to have too much self-confidence. That's, for me, that's also I mentioned that before. You saw that Gustav Bergman did a small mistake there at 25.
Yeah, I think that cost him the bronze medal.
Yeah, I mean it's he was talking that he isn't sure about if it's okay or not to run today, or if you to go out training, and at the same time he's running this World Cup. But it shows that his self-confidence isn't on top, because he really needs this feedback here that he's on track towards the World Championships, and it's even worth for him to risk kind of
yeah, if he was swimming with confidence, he could have maybe said, I'll miss it, because I know I'm going to be great at the World Championships. But
now it's really good for him, because he got the feeling that, as he said, I haven't been running that fast for several months. And I'm sure that will give him another boost towards the World Championships.
Yeah, and maybe that's why he says, because he doesn't have that self-confidence, he doesn't back himself as much in the knockout sprints, where you've got to be super fast and you've got to have a lot of confidence to, push at the lead and be right on point with your orienteering then, But running on this type of an injury, could that be a long-term problem for him? I mean, it is a risky thing to do.
If you have a stress fracture, it's a long-time problem, and if you stress it again, then it can be a problem. But obviously, he has been training well. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in shape, even if he didn't train as planned, of course, but he seems to have trained okay at least. So he got some quality, and his speed is good at the moment. So I think he can be. He regained some self-confidence towards the coming tasks here. But
let's talk about the women's course map. A bit different to the men's.
Yeah, but the beginning is quite similar. We have this long leg, and the second one also the same route choice to control 3. Then 4, 5. This first part here is very similar. Here we have a bit another option. We have this 6th control we haven't seen in the men's race. Makes it a bit different. Doesn't give you as many options between 4 and 7 as in the men's race. Then you got this part here again with this shorter legs. Many decisions to take. Then you have the arena passage. And again, a bit different here in that part, 14, 15, 16, then the map change at 17, the same control as we have seen in the men's race. Again, this route choice to control 18, then slightly different here in this part, 19, 20, 21. Go up again here, and then the last part, 23, 24, the same route choice as in the men's race, and then also the same finish here, 24, 25, and then back to the arena. So it's kind of a similar race. We have this first part that we have seen was very decisive in the men's race. There are few routes you just have to. Yeah, you have to. There might be two or three options might be okay, but don't pick the third one because then you lose like 10 seconds.
And you got to pick and then get on with it and just, you know, just go for it. Yeah, very, very distinctive. So we'll have another look at this. These aerial shots, it's much nicer. Can it be like that today? And get an idea of what the terrain is like. As we've been discussing, it's very typical Swedish suburban type medium-sized apartment blocks. A lot of things looking kind of the same. These patches of grass, these parts of low fences, walls and hedges, all those kinds of things. And again, we have that road choice to control number 1. That little transport leg just kind of set up this great route choice for control number 3. And I think this one, we didn't see too much differences in terms of the number of seconds won or lost in terms of these route choices, but there are so many different micro route choices you can take. You could go somewhere between the orange and the red one if you wanted to take that one.
And it was very obvious in the men's race that of the top 3 or 4, no one has chosen the blue one here.
And there's barely a control. There are a few controls without any route choice on this course, but there aren't many of them. Even if it's just a micro route choice, which way around you go to the building, which gap you take through a hedge or through a fence. And this is this last kind of route choice part that we saw. There's lots of different variations.
Again, we have seen the top 4 in the men's race. We've seen the blue option and the red option. I think the red one might be slightly faster.
Or
that's
a combination between the blue. You could start on the blue route, then cut across to the red route.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen Kasper Fosser in the red one, Gustav Bergman on the blue one.
Just don't take the orange one. Well, this is the thing, don't take the third option.
Yeah.
Take the top 2, then you're going to be okay, but not that third one. All right, let's have a little look then through the start list. As with always on the races, it's going to be those ones starting last we expect to be doing the best. Looking at the world rankings and everything like that. Anyone you want to particularly pick out?
Yes.
Yes, you are prepared.
I want to highlight Hanna Lundberg. She just won the Swedish Championships 2 weeks ago with a big margin compared to Tove Alexandersson. She's the second one I would like to pick, Tove Alexandersson. I mean, she's always one of the favorites.
Yeah, you'd be silly not to.
Yeah. And Elena Roos, she had a really great spring so far. Good shape in test races in Denmark. Also, she was running good in any race she started. So she's one of my, the ones I think Hanna Lundberg, Elena Roos, Tove Alexandersson are the biggest favorites for me at least.
Yeah, and we do tend to see in the women's races kind of bigger gaps. I expect there'll be a lot kind of, maybe close times around between like 10th to 15th, but then you will really start to get some bigger gaps as we go through. But it's this kind of last page of the start list that we really want to be looking out for. A lot of these women have had, multiple top 6 finishes at a World Cup or a World Championships level. They're very experienced in terms of their orienteering, in terms of competing at events like this. They're very experienced in terms of competing on terrain like this. They'll be very, very well prepared. But our leader at the finish is Charlotte Ward from Great Britain. Her time 17:06 is looking very, very good, and she evidently has had a really fantastic race. She is one of the sprint specialists on the team. Again, the British team have been able to have a lot of more sprint specialists throughout the squad, and she is one of those who's been really putting in a lot of hard work, has been on the World Cup circuit for a good number of years getting that experience. But I think that is, in a lot of races in the UK, she hasn't been the best British runner. So I think she's going to be super, super happy with that result so far, and we'll just see where it stands when it comes to the rest. We've also had those are our standings then at the finish with the top 10 shown there, but I mean, really still a lot of runners to go. I think our expected winning time is about 15 minutes. So for it to be 17:06, that's still going to come down a lot. All right, let's take a look then at the start. This is Cecilia Friberg-Klusner. Again, one of the more experienced runners on the Danish team, has been part of a lot of their success in terms of sprint relay medals, but maybe now's a good point to reflect on the news of Maya Alm retiring. She announced her retirement since the last World Cup, has obviously taken a back foot on the last couple of seasons when there hasn't been that sprint focus. So she announced her, I think, retirement and pregnancy all in one go. I think her baby's due any time now. So we wish her all the best with that. And it's always a moment to reflect when one of the really, really great orienteers retires, to reflect on what a fantastic career she's been able to have, what a way she's been able to really develop this the sprint orienteering and lead from the front, and kind of push a lot of the others that we see coming through now into really, really great positions. So yes, but let's have a look then at some of the tracking then, is everything we want to pick out here at this early stage.
And you see here Grace Malloy choosing the one to the left. I think she lost a bit of time. I don't think actually you lose so much time on this route choice here, but it was obvious that in the men's race no one took this route choice and ended up in the top 4. So maybe not the best choice there. And I think this is the wrong underlying course here. It's the main course in the picture, but of course the GPS is right, so they had the control there.
Van der Hayu then here into our first split. And at the moment we have Charlotte Ward leading at the finish, but we have Emma Biesmo of Sweden leading at our arena passage. She's also leading at the second TV split point as well. So she is the current leader. She's not quite at the finish yet, though, is Emma Biesmo. So she looks like she's going to be in a very good position to take a new leading time. Van der Hayu, this point, is 12 seconds down, but it's still really, early days. You've got to be, I think, only a few seconds off the pace if you want to then be making a good result once everybody has come through and once everybody has finished. Ida Happala here for Finnish team. Really strong, going to 4th place. And again, this is a lot of the Finns have started to specialise in the sprint orienteering. She is one of those.
She has gathered 11 seconds towards Charlotte Ward just from control number 17 to the finishing line. So a really strong finish by Ida Happala from Finland. Right now, 4th position at the finishing line.
That was Ida Ave Christiansen.
She was 6th at this official walk test race in Denmark, where we had many of the different, it was the first international come together almost, and 6th place there was quite good. Good start into the season. 11 seconds behind here.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a bit too much. It's
Well, it's
still
not
kind
at this
of
point,
early
but
in this
yeah,
in the race.
it's early in the race. So many good women still to come. Did you notice she looked back as she just rounded that the head? She looked back at the next control. She was already thinking about and just kind of sighting where she was going to have to run out of, and kept that really kind of smooth running throughout the whole thing there.
She's putting down her teammate by 3 seconds. Nurminen, place number 4.
Inka Nurminen then
Katherine from Finland, 17:33.
in that top 5.
For Finland right now. But yes, more. Starting bib number 75. So it's only 1 minute. Here she is at the screen.
But here's Emma Biesmo, and she is still leading around our intermediate splits. It looks like she's going to have a really good opportunity to take the lead here at the finish, take the lead away from Britain Charlotte Ward. And Emma Biesmo has had a really strong run so far. She's going to have a wait to see how it matches up with all of the runners behind her. But she's looking really strong then here into the finish. And she's going to be about 20 seconds clear. About 16 seconds clear then in the end. Emma Biesmo takes the lead then.
Seems to be quite a good race. She was in the lead at the first intermediate control, the second one, third one, and at the finish as well. So all the way through.
And she's just kind of taken a little bit of a gap ahead of the rest of the field, just a little bit more and more every single time. Yeah, looks very, very consistent. Martina Ruch here at the start, just getting very, very focused. At this point, you can't really see much of the terrain. You know, they'll have gone through the whole quarantine. Kind of they emerge from behind this banner that we see behind them, and you've really got to bring in all of your experience to take this focus, so you can very quickly get into the map here as well.
And I heard of some of the leaders, team leaders, that they were a bit surprised about the start. About the position of the start, because they said it was 1.5 Ks from the quarantine to the start, but it wasn't. It wasn't really. It was just a few hundred meters. It was very close, so they thought it would be more to the north, but it's in the very south of the map here, the start.
Cecilia Friberg-Klusner.
It's quite a big gap already here as well.
Yeah,
Around
now we're
20
getting towards 20 seconds. It's quite a lot to be able to do anything with.
We are in this 20 seconds, and we have still the strongest runners to come, so I think it's too much.
Or the distance from Emma Biesmo, that is the current leader. But Emma Biesmo, Tina Östberg, 2 seconds differences, but then it's 10 seconds down to Marika Ting.
I always think, what if you live in one of these apartments and suddenly you know that the world's best orienteers descend on your doorstep, and suddenly, what's going on?
Yeah, it's for sure something special, because I mean, Tove Alexandersson is really kind of a star here in Sweden. She has been the sportswoman, or like sportsman of the year in Sweden. So she's quite a name, and it is something special when she's just running through your garden here in some places of the course.
Yeah, and you've got Swedish TV that's, you know, cameras in your back garden. Here is Adela Finstrolova, was Adela Indrakova. A couple of the Czech women have got married this between last season and this, so changing their names. But about over a minute down there for the Czech runner. Here's Ida Egri Christiansen, who we caught up with earlier on in the race. She had good results of the test races, but she's losing a bit of time.
She was 16 seconds behind at the arena passage. Now it's 33. You see the map turn wasn't really prepared. What you want to do is, when you come around the corner, you can switch the map and then start reading the map towards the start point of the next one.
At
Because
least have your
you don't-
direction out of the control sorted, even
Yeah.
if it's not completely everything there.
This seems to be a good start here. Let's see how far she has to go towards the first TV control. All in
Yeah,
the
this, you still
picture,
got
so
this one
from
and then
here,
another one.
from here it's maybe 20 seconds. So that's still, it's a good start. You see the control there, but you have to go all the way around.
You can see how much she is reading the map at this point just to get everything, everything right. Make sure you're not making any mistakes.
Mm. 12 seconds here, 13 seconds.
And I think we saw some good sprint races from Cécile Coulandry in the last World Cup round. I think she was, I remember her name coming up quite a lot, I think, at the World Championships.
She was also good in the knockout sprint test race in Denmark. She ended up in second position there, just behind Elena Roos.
Yeah, so certainly newish sprint talent for the French team.
I see here different route choices. And Hariu going around to the south. Now into this part with many controls, many short controls. Lot of left or right decisions here. That's where we see them coming. 9 to 10 TV control into first TV split at control 10.
So at the start then, Victoria Heistad Bjørnstad getting straight into that map to head out on this fairly long run out to the start control in amongst the trees, and then you emerge out into the terrain in amongst all of these buildings. And I think really we've got Victoria Heistad Bjørnstad starting now, we've got Alice Leek starting next, Hannah Lundberg next. This is, I think, really now we've had a step up in the ability of these athletes at this point. So we're going to start seeing, I think, a lot of new, I hope a lot of new fastest times being set from around about now. And for me, Cecilia Friberg-Klusner again, just kind of dropping a little bit of time on every single control. Just not quite, feels like she's making a few hesitations. So it will be 40 seconds down. It was like, what, 20 seconds, I think, at the earlier one. All right, here's Alice Leek. Took a top 6 position at the World Champs. I think it was a bit of a surprise for her that she was able to do that, having not really raced very much last year, not had the opportunity to go out to many races, and then performed really, really well when it mattered at that World Championships. Again, she's been not competing too much, but she actually did have some really great results over in Belgium at the sprint races at Assom. So she will take a lot of confidence from those results, where there are a lot of national team athletes there, a lot of international athletes there to race against.
And here we are with Eline Kemperle. Interesting name. The coaches from Switzerland, they highlighted her a bit. She is in great shape. Former junior world champion in sprint, 12 seconds behind here. Quite okay so far.
Yeah, that's exactly where you want to be. You want to be within that touching distance at that point. And I think maybe Charlotte Ward dropped a little bit of time towards the end of the course, I think we were hearing. So there's opportunity to kind of claw back a little bit of time.
And talking about losing time towards the end here, Vendela Hariu lost a lot of time between control 17 and 24, 23 seconds there.
Yeah, that's a significant time loss, and it is a lot of those route choice controls through that particular part. She will end up in 8th. Within the minute gap, but yeah, I mean, when you're within about 20 seconds, to lose that amount of time at the end is very tough. But here is Hannah Lundberg, the winner then of the Swedish Sprint Championships. She absolutely burst onto the scene last season, winning, I mean, I'm never going to forget her winning that middle distance in Idrefjell, having been the first starter, ultimately winning. Her reaction to that was incredible, and you know, she's just been on the up since then. We will talk a lot about her, as I'm sure we'll see her lots around this course. So but Laura Ramstein from Austria has, I was going to say she's had a good start, but actually she's already behind, and this is not even the control that they're taking the split time
Yeah,
from,
I think
so
she will
it's
be
too much.
half a minute behind.
At least. Yeah, she's going to drop down here very quickly down the rankings. And you just look at how tightly packed the athletes are. I think qualification for the knockout sprint on Saturday is going to be brutal. Really, really brutal. I almost feel like we should take bets on what the margin's going to be, what the time behind the winner you have to be to make it through to the next round in the knockout sprint.
See two different options here. Quite much faster to go to the left there. And then you see here, depending on which direction they come from, they choose differently to the next one. But I think actually,
earlier,
yeah, but it was in the men's race and the control was located at a different place. So I think here it was very much faster to go to the right and not to the left. In this case here, so this was actually a mistake there.
Sabine Hausfeld there, just getting her race underway. Here's Vera Klemetinen. We will take the time from there.
There's 17:05, second spot, 15 seconds behind.
So Ingrid Lundenez, we've seen her quite a bit on the tracking. Then into new second place here at the finish. 15 seconds slower than Emma Biesmo, who is still leading at the our first split control at the arena passage, at the second split control as well. Here's Victoria Haystead Bjornstad.
But also she has to go all the way to the next control. It's an okay start. She will be around 10 seconds behind.
You called it. That was spot on. 10 seconds behind, but still within a good shout of the leader at that point.
And we see here what a start by Hanna Lundberg. She's just running so much faster than all the others. It's a good route choice here as well. Maybe at least not the one you lose a lot of time at.
Yeah, I think it's worked out well for her.
Yeah,
certainly.
3 to 4 GPS is it's not too smooth in this part, but good start by Hanna Lundberg from Sweden, the junior.
Yeah, not a bad start from Alice Leek. We saw she wasn't quite as quick as Hanna Lundberg, but still kind of.
But this here could actually be just a few seconds behind. Quite a good start here.
So how will Alice Leek match up then to that leading time of Emma Biesmo? Still leading in the finish is Emma. And it's going to be within seconds then. Alice Leek, just 1 second behind the lead then at this first split control. We know Alice has had great results at World Championship level before.
Elin Gempele towards the finish. She lost some time here in the very end. She was 12 seconds behind at control 17, then 27 seconds at control 24, so there must have been a mistake there in between.
There's been a mistake between, but she's not lost any time on the very last few controls. Only 2 seconds lost there, so that's pretty good racing from her. Good speed. Here's Hannah Lundberg though, and she's really spotting that exit out of the control
and
really
you could
well.
see
Look at
that she exactly knew where to go here. There was no hesitation at all. Got kind of the same feeling as I had with Kasper Fosser earlier. Very good here. Now she has just there towards the first TV split, and now this is a clear new best time. 25 seconds, 24 seconds ahead. And look at that, it was 13 seconds at the first split, and now it's 24. She's just running so much faster than everyone else.
She is on fire at this point of the course. Absolutely streets ahead of everybody else here. Really, really great. But I'm not sure that's the best route.
Yeah, of course, you have to go. I mean, then you come from this direction in there, otherwise you have to go around. It's a different route, it's a different leg compared to the men's race. We haven't seen that before. So there's not so many runners we can compare to.
She's so far ahead. And she's still got 1 year left as a junior.
Yeah, she will have a tough season coming with JVOC and European champs and the World Championships. Will be a tough summer for her. And then it just continues in the winter because she's also focusing on cross-country skiing at the same time.
Yeah, she was. Where did she go to the World Junior Champs and cross-country skiing, and she's starting studying with a focus on cross-country skiing.
Yeah, exactly. So here we have this route choice we've seen in the men's race as well. We think it's good to go to the left there, but it's okay to go to the right as well, but just don't go all the way around. Interesting that they choose exactly the other way around. The ones who went to the left first, went to the right after that. And here we are with Sabine Hauswirth.
She is already late. I say she's already late, but then we're comparing it to Hannah Lundberg, who's so far ahead.
Yeah, but she's also late compared to Emma Biesmo.
There's all of this direction changes, deceleration, acceleration, the athleticism that you need to do well in this sprint race is considerable, but now 42 seconds down is quite a lot. Victoria Hestad Bjornstad just done that map exchange, map handover as it were, and on her way to the next control, taking that right-hand route, which is going to avoid those the steeper steps. Caroline Olsen, though, here, ready to start.
She was 9th at the Swedish Championships, didn't have the best day there. She has a very... When she runs at her best, she can be really good, but often she has one control where she gets into problems and then she loses a lot of time. But once she gets really through a course, she can be very dangerous for the top positions. Wait, that's kind of... That's Caroline Olsen in one picture, kind of.
She's going to try and bit of a smile, laugh it off, refocus now, because that could throw her a lot. Let's have a look then. Alice Leek into this control. This is not the one where we get the time, and she is now definitely behind compared to Emma Biesmo, who's still our leader at the finish. So Alice Leek has lost some time somewhere, maybe knocked her confidence. She didn't quite have that fluidity then going through that control, and she just not quite got the picture in her head of where this control is.
She might have turned the map a bit early there and didn't really read all the way to the control. And this is Hannah Lundberg now to the second TV split, and that's going to be a new best time here. The gap before was 27 seconds, then 31 at the arena passage or after the arena passage. So let's see now. Didn't change too much, I guess. Maybe lost even a bit of time here, but still it's half a minute after 10 minutes running time. Oh, that's so good.
You can see she's made that decision. She's looking ahead to this way round, and so this isn't. I think we've seen more people maybe go to the right, but there's not too much difference. I mean,
we've seen that in men's race as well. It was okay to go to the left. Different routes here. I don't think it's a good option to go to the way Alice Leak. It's the one of the three you shouldn't take, as we had it earlier. 2 out of 3 are okay. The third one, this one, isn't too good.
I wonder if that's where she lost most of the time. Then we saw that being more the decisive leg, I think, on the men's course. Here's Lina Strand.
Yeah, she was actually running quite good at the Swedish Championships, but she mispunched both of the races.
Brutal.
It's hard to know really about the shape, but it looks good here. Control 6, she had exactly the same time. That looks good. Good start here.
We didn't see Megan Carter-Davies. She's gone into second place at that point, but Lina Strand looks like she's going to be neck and neck with Hanna Lundberg.
You see the gap between Hanna Lundberg and Megan Carter-Davies is 15 seconds.
She's going to be so close there with Hanna Lundberg. Just going to be a couple of 3 seconds back. So lost a little bit of time then maybe through those few kind of controls very close together that we've seen leading up into this one. But 3 seconds, that's exactly where you want to be.
You can really see here the fight for the World Championship spots here. Of course, they have 1 spot more because Tove Alexandersson is the world champion, but still then you have Hanna Lundberg, you have Lina Strand, you have Emma Bjessmo, Tilda Östberg did good here to the first split as well, so you have really many runners who can perform well.
So these are the top 3 then into control number 10 that we got all their split times from. So Lundberg and Strand very close together with Megan Carter-Davies, those 15 seconds back. We catch up again with Sabine Hausfeld, and she's losing more and more time here.
That's the wrong direction. You don't want to run there. Really not. That's 180 degrees wrong direction, so now she's back on track.
Wow. Okay, I've not really seen that happen before. It happens to me all the time, but
you know, it's this kind of stress moment when you change when you turn the map, and you feel that you're not prepared.
You've got to find the new start. You've got to reorientate the map.
And another one from the Swedish runners fighting for this starting spot at the World Championships. Sara Hagström.
You see just the focus there, how much she's reading the map, and you mentioned, Jonas, earlier that it was maybe a bit of a surprise as to where the start was, that maybe they hadn't quite been planning that in their preparations, you know, when they're peaking or everything. Or
but you know, the moment they come to the pre-start, they know they're at the pre-start and they have a feeling about where on the map they are. So I think it's mostly about the preparation before yesterday, day before yesterday, that all the planning, they started at another point.
So Victoria Hesa Björnstad in the top 10 at this point. You can see she caught up a large amount of time earlier on, like in that last kind of section, to pick up a few places there. Caroline Olsen.
She's behind here.
Yeah, she's still got this control to punch before the one we get the time check at, and she needed to be there a good kind of 20 seconds before. She's just not in control.
If you compare that
to Hanna Lundberg
before, it's a difference. She loses 2 seconds here. just running away from the control. And the gap quite big here already, of course. I mean, she's on 4th position, but 23 seconds.
Yeah, when you add in a lot of the other runners as well, then that's really going to make a difference. Megan Carter-Davis then into 4th place. And that time from Charlotte Ward, I mean, it's stacking up really well. She was leading at the start of our broadcast. And
Megan Carter-Davis lost time here. Remember, she was
15
only
seconds behind.
Yeah, at the first TV split, and 19 at the arena passage. This is Lina Strand towards the second TV control.
And if we remember, she was only 3 seconds behind Hannah Lundberg at the first TV split.
Oh wait, she missed the entrance there. We see it here. I think maybe about 5-6 seconds here. So now she's behind. It was 12 seconds behind at control 14. You also know that Hannah Lundberg, she lost a few seconds here, so now it's 9 seconds, and here she comes towards the finish now, the new leader.
It will be a new leader, Hannah Lundberg into the finish. And we can see what the gap is going to be over her teammate Emma Biesmo. She has gone into a new leading time then here. 7 seconds ahead, but I think it could have been more.
Yeah, at control 13 she was 20 seconds ahead of Emma Biesmo. Now she lost a lot of time in the end of the course.
The start of this course had so much promise, but I think there is time where some of these later runners, Eleanor Ross, Tove Alexanderson, of course, and Andrina Benjaminsen as well, that they can just take a little bit of time away from her.
Never forget, she's still a junior. She's very young, and she's still in the lead now in the finish.
Yeah.
See, maybe we see something here. Control 14, that was all right. Going out there again, same way as she came in. You see also Megan Carter-Davis losing time there.
Yeah, maybe making a mistake, maybe thinking she could get through there and then having to go round as well. Tove Alexanderson then is the final starter. She is the world champion, she's the European champion. She had the most ridiculously fantastic world champs, winning every single race she started, and she is always going to be the favourite, I think. Still on every single race she enters, and now, you know, she was beaten though, of course, last season in Sweden by Hannah Lundberg. But I think, looking at Hannah's race today, there are areas for improvement, I think.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
And if anyone can improve on it, it's going to be Tove.
I mean, she lost 20 seconds there. We haven't seen Tove missing 20 seconds many times in the sprint. Of course, she missed at the World Champs, but still
she caught it up. I mean, yeah.
Look at that. I mean, if you see that page here, you can understand that it's quite difficult to make it into the Swedish team at the World Championships. But of course, that's at the first split. So.
Yeah, that's true. A lot has changed since then, especially with that, the route choice away from this arena passage. Has really been quite decisive, I think, there. I think this is Paolo Gross. Yep, it is. But, over a minute down already.
It's really not the Swiss day so far.
No. But we do have we still have yet to see the two best Swiss in terms of Eleanor Ross and Simona Abersold. Oh, I wish we'd stayed a little bit longer there with Paula Gross. Was she going to make exactly the same mistake as her teammate Sabine Hauswirth? And this again, Olsen making almost the same mistake as Strand, but only one step kind of the other way.
It's not the first time we've seen her not very distinct in her orienteering. At the first TV split, she hesitated leaving the control. Now here she hesitated finding this little passage. do you always lose 1 or 2 seconds, and also here a bit of energy when you have to stop and turn again? Just doesn't give you a good feeling, and you don't get into the flow.
No, and it can knock your confidence really quickly, I think, and you just feel like you need to hesitate all the time. Here's Alexandra Hornick then from Poland in towards the finish. Can she be inside the top 10? She's been a strong sprinter there and thereabouts for a good number of years now. And here is the first look then at Eleanor Ross.
This is interesting now. Let's see, but she's
behind.
Also behind.
She's behind.
Yeah. And
she's yet to punch the control before the one we get the splits at, and yeah.
She's also 20 seconds behind here, at least.
And Eleanor Ross has had a good season so far.
Yeah, really. She's in great shape, so I think she must have missed something here, route choice or two. Really, it's kind of a surprise that none of the Swiss really got it together here in the beginning, all of them losing time, except for Matthias Kiburtz, who was only a few seconds behind, but all the other ones were 20 and more seconds behind already at the first TV split.
Sarah Hagström into fourth, but yeah, those 33 seconds down, plenty of room for others to step in there. Here's Lina Strand, and she's coming through to the finish now. And what is she able to do?
Yeah, we know that Hanna Lundberg lost a lot of time, and I think this is going to be a new leader. You see 14 seconds there at control 24.
Lina Strand then into the finish. Looks like she's going to be a leader. She took her first World Champs medal in Norway in 2019. Making a bit of a breakthrough there for her, and she's had a fantastic race here today in a very strong field. She takes the lead. It's a big margin there for Lina Strand, 24 seconds. Fantastic performance from Lina Strand into the finish, and we can just take a quick look at Simona Abersold. She is 11 seconds down on the lead. The lead at that point was Hanna Lundberg, so within, I think, in a good place there. Not a bad start from Simona Abersold, still in touching distance. One more runner then to go through that spot. It is Tove Alexandersson. Let's have a comparison.
See here, we see that Hanna Lundberg is still in the lead at control 22. Must be a mistake here, hesitating here. It's not necessary to go back out there. You can get a bit more. Oh, she goes into this dead end. Oh, she might have lost the top 3 there. Let's see. But very good race by Lina Strand. She was there at the first TV split, at the second one, and then all the way, no bigger mistakes. We have seen that she missed this small passage there, about 5, 6, 7 seconds, but in the end, a big lead in the finish so far. I think Alexandersson, it's an okay start here. She had exactly the same time at control 6.
I think it's more than an okay start. Or maybe you setting different standards for Tove Alexandersson. You're expecting her to be 20 seconds in the lead at this point. Oh, yeah. So let's check the time. She's 1 second behind.
So that's an okay start.
It's an okay start. Yeah, it's not bad. So let's compare then these top runners.
What happened there? Result, maybe GPS just lagging a bit. But she's the only one going to the south there. And you can see that there's really this group of 3 runners together, and kind of a gap compared to Abersold. You also know that Hanna Lundberg did a big mistake in the end there towards control 24. notice different route choices in this short legs.
And we're live with Tove Alexanderson here. Everybody else is synced to her time.
That means that she will be soon here at the arena passage. Looking out the window, here she comes.
On the pictures we have Paula Gross, but Tove Alexanderson will get a big cheer as she heads through the arena. And her time is equal to that of Hannah Lundberg at this point. But still a big part of the course to go where we've seen mistakes.
The podium is right now Swedish athletes at control number 13 at the arena. Simon Iversson, Switzerland, 7:33, and Miguel David, 7:33.
Caroline Olsen then here into the finish. She's going to be outside the top 3 at this point, and you can see the damage for her was really done early on in this course. She's not dropped too much time between controls 14 and 24, but yeah, just losing a little bit more time again in the end. 4th position is not bad, but the time is still quite a big gap, and there's still loads of runners still to come. These runners.
Oh, now we see that Tove Alexanderson is not choosing the best route choice here, so that opens up again for Lina Strand.
It really does.
Of course, we know that Hannah Lundberg is in the lead here, but she did a mistake towards control 24 in the very end. But let's see how big the gap is, if she might keep the damage low there. Small mistake there of Lina Strand as well. This is Simona Abersold. She's kind of a similar story regarding the injuries as Kasper Fosser. Struggled a lot during the winter, not in her best shape. And misses this passage as well.
It's really hard to see because the hedge is there and it...
Yeah, you should try to see it exactly the moment you leave the control, because then it's easiest to see.
And again, just not quite the confidence. You can see that hesitation, just which way is she going to go around. Just means you put the foot off the gas just for a fraction of a second. But if you do that at every single point where you have a little uncertainty, then it's going to soon add up.
And she's still in contact with Emma Biesmo, who's 3rd in the finish so far. But here is Tove Alexanderson on the way to the 2nd TV control.
Yeah, so here she is. You can see that control 14 was the one of the controls shortly. So the second control, the control after the arena passage, and she's lost 7 seconds basically on that route choice. Has she been able to pull it back up again? If anybody can do it, it's Tove Alexanderson, and she looks to be in a really good position. I think at this point in the race, Hannah Lundberg starts making mistakes, starts hesitating, and so this is where the gap
Of
opens
course,
up.
we have to compare her to Lina Strand, so she's 2 seconds ahead actually. So now it's 12 seconds to gap. That's quite a lot here. But of course, you can do mistakes here in the end. We have seen that before.
I think Tova's the only one who could make the suboptimal route choice on to control number 14 and still not let it affect her overall time. Here's Sarah Hagström. Into the finish then.
Wait, that's big time
Something
loss.
has happened there.
Yeah, she was 36 seconds behind the control 17 and then 1:21 at 24. So yeah, there must have happened something there.
Not sure what, but that's going to be a big disappointment for Sarah Hagström when she was in touching distance. Of course, we've got to think for her selection for the World Championships. But she's still got a couple more races to prove herself for as well. Here's Andrina Benjaminsen, also into the finish, but she too is
a lot of her today.
Yeah.
It's a big gap, 1:14. I mean, she must have missed in the beginning because we haven't seen her in the picture, so she was quite far behind from the beginning. 25 seconds at the first TV split, then 26 at the arena passage, and here we see maybe there's a mistake already to control 23, then another one to control 24, the same as Hanna Lundberg was doing. Then she back there again. She didn't dare to go around there. That was strange.
That is very. I don't think it was a mistake to control 23. So this is the
you
path they've already
out.
gone up. So
exactly.
you need to make sure that you're parallel with this edge of the building by the time you actually go up. But it's strange because you think it's going to be quite a big, because I ran this way, you think it's going to be quite a big path, and it is when you get there, but you can't see it because the hedge is in the way, and you see that massive big funnel leading up towards the building. You think, that's where I need to go. No. You need to turn around exactly like Eleanor Ross here. Zuzana Shikova is on her way to the finish as well. She has often been one of the best of the Czech runners, has been competing for the senior team for a good many years, even as a junior, but this time as well.
Also she with a big time loss between control 17 and 24. Many of the runners having problems there.
So equals 17th ultimately. And that means we've got 3 runners yet to come through to the finish. Eleanor Ross, Simona Abersold, and of course Tove Alexanderson. Here's Simona Abersold, and we can follow her then on the way towards control 24.
Yes. It's a good option now. She shouldn't run up here to the left. That's the mistake Sara Hagström and Hanna Lundberg were doing.
Clear on that one. Let's have a look at Eleanor Ross then into the finish. She's going to be outside the top 3. I think Eleanor Ross, the big time losses towards the very, very start, and otherwise she's managed to actually claw back a little bit of time towards the end, but she is outside of the medals. Eleanor Ross at this point, she's still the best of the Swiss, but she is too slow at this point. So Abersold and Alexanderson. How many times have we said Abersold and Alexanderson still to come into the finish? They have been at the top of their game here, and here is Tove Alexanderson going
towards 24.
Yes, I think so. We haven't really seen many people, well, on the cameras take this route. So that means very soon we'll see Abersold into the finish. Oh, yeah.
You have to continue, yes.
But wasn't quite prepared.
No, there was no other option. You can back out there again.
Okay, here is Simona Abersold.
Will she be able to kind of destroy the Swedish top 3 position here?
Well, she's already late to take the win. It's still looking good for Strand, although Alexanderson's still to come. Can she sneak a medal though? Simona Abersold. In the last few steps of the race, where's it going to be? We're going to have to check the time. Equal seconds then, equal seconds with Hanna Lundberg. Maybe we'll get 4 on this podium. We're waiting then to see Tove Alexanderson. Here she is. She is the world champion at sprint. She is the European champion of sprint. She is famous here in Sweden. A load of support here, and the gap is huge here for Tove Alexanderson. What an athlete she is. She is going to have a clear lead here, a clear win. For there to be 3 Swedes in the top 3. Alexanderson takes the win, 29 seconds then ahead of Lina Strand. She's congratulated by Simona Abersold, and she, even though not the best route choice, I think, to that control number 14, her speed, as usual, is absolutely incredible, and her lack of hesitation, she always has that confidence to give it full gas throughout the whole course, and really managed to bring up a lot of time then at the end where others were making mistakes. They were maybe getting tired or having those kind of hesitancies as well. So yeah.
Yeah, but a great performance by Tove Alexandersson. It was only one other runner who had the speed really, and that was Hanna Lundberg, but she missed towards the end, so maybe she was overdoing it a little bit in the beginning regarding the speed. But what a great performance by the Swedish team. I mean, we have Tove Alexandersson winning this race, then Lina Strand second, Hanna Lundberg shared third with Simona Abersol, Emma Bessmo fifth, Caroline Olsson seventh, Tilda Östberg on 10th position. So look at this. I'm not jealous on the people like having to pick the runners for the World Championships.
Yeah, I mean, goodness me. But I want to point out Ingrid Lundenez and Charlotte Ward both getting into that top 10 position. I think Charlotte Ward's got to be incredibly pleased with that result. She really has been working hard this season, and it's really just that run has all come together for her, absolutely. As we take a look down at more of these top 30 results within the 2 minutes. For me, I mean, maybe it's just who we've seen compared to the men's race, but it feels like we've seen a lot more mistakes. But I think we will now go and hear from our winner, from Tove Alexandersson.
Yeah. Tove, congratulations on your victory. How did you experience your race?
Oh, it was so intense all the time with a lot of controls, and it was like no time to relax and just run it. So it's hard to say how it was because you're so focused all the time, and yeah, it was really intense.
And you seem to be going very fast on the last part. How did you experience that yourself? How did your shape feel?
Yeah, I felt like I started quite control, and it was so tricky, so I never felt like I could have like full running speed. But anyway, you get really tired, you know, your legs in then, because it's also so much stop and acceleration. So even, yeah, so it was hard, but I still felt like I had some speed left.
And it was the first international competition of the season. How does it feel winning with this margin?
Oh yeah, it feels really good that I managed to be in shape when I will want to be in shape. And yeah, I've been training a lot the last weeks, and this is the first weekend I will take a little bit more easy to have some more energy, and it's so nice to see, to really feel a difference also in the legs when yeah, I have a bit more energy.
And you won the knockout sprint in Sweden, the Swedish champs, 2 weeks ago, and you'll have another knockout championship coming up here in 2 days. What are your expectations?
Yeah, knockout sprint is really always really hard because it's so much things that can happen, and also with cheat drawing. So yeah, we will see. I know that it's many girls that will fight about the final spots.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right then, congratulations to Tove Alexandersson. You know, she is once again an absolutely class athlete. Taking a controlled first part of the race is what she was saying, and you can see indeed here, like Hanna Lundberg leading at this point. We've got our top 4 who will all get medals today. What do you reckon then, Jonas?
You see here that there are 2 runners. They have a great speed, and maybe a bit slightly faster than the others, and it's Hanna Lundberg to Alexandersson. But also Lina Strand had a good start here. I think she was the one with the most like consistent performance here, seen over the whole race. But the feeling is that Hanna Lundberg was really strong in the beginning. Maybe she started a little bit too much in an attacking way. Maybe she was overdoing a bit with the speed and didn't have the experience to go all the way. She missed quite a lot in the end. You see here all 3 of them. Very good orienteering, very good sprint orienteering here. And as Alexandersson said, it's very intense sprint here. You never had time to relax. You had to be focused all the way, especially in these parts with short, tricky controls, or short controls where you have to take a decision all the time on every control. Then you got to the arena passage and might relax a little bit in your mind, but then it's like maybe the most important route choice is coming. Maybe the only mistake Tove Alexandersson was doing, she lost time here on this one. You see that Hanna Lundberg has actually quite a big lead here at control 14. But then towards the end, it felt a little bit that as if Hanna Lundberg was running out a bit of energy.
She went the wrong side of the fence here.
And it's one mistake, and then the next one is coming, and you just feel that okay, it's not as style of orienteering is not as distinct anymore as it was in the beginning. But still, I mean, here she is in second position. She's still very close to Alexandersson, but you also see now when Alexandersson can like play out her strength towards the end, like her physical strength, and it's just very good. And then now be aware of that control 24. This will be the place where Hanna Lundberg is doing quite a big mistake. First of all, she is running, I think she's backing out from the control. You could run as Alexandersson is doing there, and even from there change to the one around. And then here she's running up this kind of dead end and had to turn, and then of course that's the place where she loses the second position here. I don't think she could have won this race anyway. Tove was just too strong, but she could have ended up in second position. And here you see again she's just running out of energy, and the Abersold is coming closer and closer, and in the end they share this third position.
They are going to share the third position. Right, let's do our flower ceremonies then for the men's and then the women's races. We will award the flowers to the top three. And it was the Belgian Yannick Michels. I mean, he's relieved to see him do that. I think Tim Robertson also super happy to get on top of this podium. They've been preparing for the World Championships in Denmark for a long time, and they're going to be super, super pleased with the confidence they can get from that performance. But Kasper Fosse ultimately fighting through the pain, it sounds like, of that stress fracture. His speed again was absolutely incredible, and really these top three athletes, we just saw every single time we saw them on the camera, just the quality of their orienteering, the confidence they were taking into review control. They just looked in control the whole time, the whole point of the race, and then it just came down to kind of a tiny bit of speed at the end, really close between these three athletes. So the top three here today after this sprint race, they're going to be going into Saturday's knockout sprint in a good position. And also, I mean, how great to see. There's going to be such a contrast between the nations represented on this podium here in the men's race compared to the women's race. We've got the three nations here. We've got a lot of athletes that, I mean, in Belgium and New Zealand, you know, they don't have a national program. They don't have a national support system. These are athletes who are training kind of by themselves or with their clubs or with athletics clubs and with those athletics coaches to kind of have that high-level training program that allows them to get on the top of this podium here. You know, they're not supported by a big federation and loads of funding, which is incredible. Let's take again a look through the final results for this women's, which we've seen before as they're ready to get started, I think, with the flower ceremony for the women's race. And yeah, it seemed that I think there was a lot of hesitation more in the, I mean, it may have been just who we happened to see and what we happened to see in the races, but a lot more kind of hesitation and uncertainty from the women in this race compared to what we saw in the men's race.
I don't know. I mean, we have seen really good orienteering also in the women's race. It's just, for me, it's very clear. You can see differences between runners. Just one example we were picking up during the broadcast as well was comparison in the beginning between Hanna Lundberg and Caroline Olsson at this specific, like it was the first TV split. You could see Hanna Lundberg, she knew exactly where she had to go, and then it's not a lot of time you lose, But if you lose it at every control, or if you lose those 1 or 2 seconds 5 times during course, then of course you have already lost 10 seconds, and that's a lot in sprint orienteering. So it's very important that you have a plan, but also it is difficult in a race like this when it is as intense as it was today, and you don't have time to relax. Then of course this part is very, very difficult. It's good that they have a big podium here, so they can have enough of space on this shared third position.
Yeah, they can share that bronze medal.
Second place from Sweden, Lina Strand. But the fastest athlete here today is the one and only from Sweden,
It's very windy here, goodness me.
It's dangerous to be in the top 3 here.
Yeah.
Or top 4.
I think if you look at that podium, I'd say maybe Lina Strand is the biggest surprise of that top 4.
Yeah,
she knows how to put a race together, but again, kind of like Katherine Olsen, she hasn't always been super consistent.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of a strange thing that we say that Lina Strand is the biggest surprise on the podium when you have a junior on the podium still. But of course, I mean, the other names were quite... I wouldn't like to say obvious, but I mean, Hanna Lundberg is Swedish champion, Tove came second, Simona Abersold was fighting for the overall World Cup until the last race last year. Of course, these are names we're used to, and Lina Strand had quite a difficult season last year, so it's good to see her. It's good to see that she is back here again and performing that well.
Yeah.
Also very important.
Training and turn it around.
Yeah, and very important. I mean, if you look at the result, there's so many Swedish runners performing well, and you have to perform well to get into the team. So it's, I mean, this one here is halfway through to the World Championships, which of course is a big relief for all of the runners here. Except for Tove Alexandersson, of course, she has this extra. She has her own.
She's world champion. She gets there kind of by default. So fantastic set of racing here. I think kind of Jonas, you were calling it in terms of it'll be the adding up of seconds that ultimately decided the winners today, and ultimately decided the top 3, top 4. Really, really strong lot of racing. So tomorrow we have a rest day, they recover for what could be many, many kilometres of racing tomorrow for the knockout sprint that we're going to have all in one day, the qualification, the quarterfinals. You can follow those on the GPS tracking on the live results. Then we will be back then for the sprint, the semi-finals and the finals, where we'll crown another set of medals and again another step on the way to those World Championships. We will see you back again then on Saturday back in Borås in Sweden for another fantastic set of races at this World Cup.
See you then.